Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Metropolis Radio, and today we are getting back to more AFM news. I know I said that I believe it was last Friday that I believed that we were done with AFM news, but the problem with news coming out of AFM is that, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, and Deadline don't like to put their news like under like the normal film. It's usually under like they hide it under like business or international. So this is the first time I'm actually seeing this, and here's what we'll be exploring today: is that will the box office bounce back help indies? Studio blockbusters like Dune, No Time to Die, and Venom 2 dominate the box office, while independent and specialty titles struggle to draw a theatrical audience. For the independent film industry, the reopening of theaters worldwide has been your classic good news, bad news type situation. The good news, according to the latest figures from box office analyst ComScore, is that movies are back. ComScore reported that the domestic ticket revenue for October hit $638 million, making it the best month since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. That's not back to record level. That's not back to the record level seen pre-pandemic. ComScore figures show domestic box office in 2019 hitting $789.5 million, compared with $832 million in October 2018. But it's 12% up from October 2017 figure of $569.8 million. Cinemas elsewhere, from China to the UK and France to Mexico, are also filling up again as coronavirus restrictions fall away and distributors start rolling out titles held back during COVID lockdowns. The bad news? It's blockbusters all the way down. So what are the movies that made the most amount of money during the month of October? Well, let's go ahead, let's take a look at them.
To the future of House Atreides.
You have to be ready.
There is no call we do not answer. There is no faith that we betray.
They're not human, they're brutal.
What if I'm not dead? You'll still be the only thing I ever needed you to be.
Come on!
My son.
I need a favor, brother. You're the only one I trust for this.
The world's moved on, Commander Bond.
You were 00.
2 years. So stay in your lane. You get in my way, I will put a bullet in your knee. The one that works.
I thought you two would get along.
All I ever wanted in this world is carnage.
No surprise that event films pack them in, judging from the response to Universal's F9, which took in $721 million in theaters worldwide this year, as well as Warner Legendary's Godzilla vs. Kong, $468 million, and Disney Marvel title Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, $423 million. Independent films have had far less success in bringing their audience back to cinemas, though. A few mainstream action titles with indie backing and studio distribution have done modest business. For example, Lionsgate's release of Millennium Media's The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard drew $38 million domestically, while Guy Ritchie's Jason Statham actioner Wrath of Man from MGM, Miramax, and CAA Media Finance took in $27.5 million at theaters in North America. A24 has a sleeper hit with Icelandic horror title Lamb at $2.7 million and counting. Neon did decently with Nicolas Cage star Pig at $3.2 million, and Cannes winner Titane at $1.44 million. But overall, the story of cinema's reopening in the US and worldwide has been one of near total studio domination. Quote, the specialty market has not come back for theatrical, nowhere close. Kent Sanderson, president of acquisitions and ancillary at U.S. Indie Bleecker Street, told an AFM panel on Tuesday, noting that what makes a film, quote, travel well on VOD has become increasingly important in deciding what movies to finance. Fellow panelist Brian Beckman, the CFO of ArcLight Films, agreed that a North American theatrical release was not a reality for most independent films at the moment. Not that theaters are complaining. Few independent films have cracked the UK charts since cinemas opened in May, but revenues are now besting pre-pandemic levels. The UK box office just hit £15 million, $20.2 million US, for 5 consecutive weeks, the first time it has managed that since late 2018. Quote, for us, the big films really are the tentpoles that hold the whole thing up, admits one exec working at a mid-sized exhibition chain in Britain. We need the Bonds and the Dunes to cut through the apathy of the non-regulars and get them thinking about cinema again. Just how long will it take to break through that apathy is a question on the minds of sales agents and international buyers gathering around their Zoom calls at this week's all-virtual American film market. Business at previous online-only markets, starting in Cannes last year, has been robust, with distributors betting on a quick post-COVID bounce back for the independent theatrical market. So far, that hasn't happened. One reason could be demographics. Art house and specialty titles skew older, and there are some indications that older audiences have been more hesitant to return to theaters, preferring to sit out the next COVID wave from the safety of their sofas at home. Two recent specialty titles, Edgar Wright's psychological horror film Last Night in Soho and Wes Anderson's star-packed The French Dispatch, both failed to hit their box office targets. Soho has earned just $4.2 million domestically, Dispatch at $4.6 million domestically. Despite the marketing might of studio-backed distributors, Focus Features and Searchlight respectively. Then there's the impact of multi-platform releases. When a film goes out simultaneously in theaters and online, and different platform bows in different territories. Wrath of Man was a theatrical release via MGM stateside, but went out online only via Amazon in the UK. Apple TV Plus picked up Sundance favorite and awards contender Coda for release on its platform in North America and most international territories, but the Cyan Header directed drama also hit theaters in select territories, including Mexico, where it grossed $1 million plus. Quote, every country has a different approach or reaction to multi-platform releases, says Kristen Figueroa, managing director and executive PP at Sierra Affinity. It's not anymore, if it is going to be a streamer, I don't want it for my territory, but more, I want it, but I need a theatrical window in my territory before the online release. We are negotiating those things on a case-by-case basis now. The battle over windows, however, is far from over. Quote, the theatrical business in Europe has really tried to prevent any kind of shortening of these theatrical windows, and I think we just have to try to keep them as long as possible in a way to give the theaters a chance, said Julia Weber of Global Screen at an online AFM session earlier this week. People who would like to go to the movies are desperate to go to the movies, and then they do not only go for the tentpoles, but they also love the big scale pictures that you can only enjoy in the theater. People want to make sure that the time and money that they spend for this evening needs to have a certain value to it. For independent producers and distributors, the main challenge appears to be competing with the market might of the studios and streamers to get audiences to pay attention to new releases and come out to theaters to support them. Despite the slow start, theater owners are optimistic that art house fans eventually will come back. Quote, I think the art house type audience is used to having work a bit harder to find their films, said one UK exhibitor. Our hope is that we can tempt them back with the sound and screen above all else. We know that for real film fans, it's all about Netflix and cinema. It isn't about Netflix or cinema. And this, with regards to this box office bounce back, guys, Personally, I believe it's all temporary, and I say that for a reason. I remember doing a video. This was over a year ago. If you're watching this on YouTube, this was on the older channel before I got locked out of it. And it was the second TMRP video that I ever did, and I titled and I remember titling it "The Death of the Blockbuster," and I titled it that way for that very reason, because the problem with the studio system is that you're either making a $20 million movie or a $200 million movie, and there is no in between. If every movie you make has to make $1 billion just to break even, then I'm sorry, the studios have made this market insanely goddamn volatile. No wonder you're now seeing studios panic over the fact that, a movie made $800 million instead of $1.2 billion, because, oh my God, now they're going to lose their shirt. Now you're talking about layoffs. Now you're talking about potential budget cuts, so on and so forth. It's like, how about you rein your fucking budgets in? No. And as they said in the article, is that a lot of this audience is skewing a lot younger, and that's because a lot of these blockbusters were supposed to come out back in 2020, so there is a lot of anticipation for that. Hence why I said this is very short term, because once all those blockbusters come out that everybody wants to see, it's like, okay, what's next? That's the thing that a lot of these indies are having to fight against, is all of these blockbusters that just kept getting delayed. But there is an end point to all of these delays. At some point, movie theaters can't rely on these delayed blockbusters forever, because there's only so many of them. And I don't know if the older audience is ever going to come back to movie theaters. We're just going to have to wait and see. But right now, I think a big problem is that the theatrical market, there's just way too much competition, and it's not even just from day and date releases. Look at The Last Duel. I just did a video on that, where the movie bombed opening weekend, and everyone at that time was blaming, oh, it's only the day and date releases that stifle box office grosses. The Last Duel was a theatrical only movie that still bombed opening weekend. So it's not streaming that's stifling the box office market. What's stifling the theatrical market right now is simply just too much competition from all these movies that just kept getting delayed. And guys, that's pretty much all I've got for you. If you stuck around this long, thanks so much for doing so. And if you've been following me long enough, you know I'm terrible at ending these videos, so I will just see you guys next time.